Chloe, this time it's the Incheon exorcism murder case, a story I heard from Korea. It's a record of a bizarre and terrifying group madness that happened in a luxury hotel in Germany, all in the name of faith. In December 2015, in Frankfurt, Germany, a Korean pastor, an alias, received an urgent phone call. "Pastor, you need to come to our hotel and pray for us. It's an emergency." The pastor hurried over to the five-star hotel in the city center. When the door to the room opened, the scene inside was hell. A woman was lying motionless on the floor next to the bed, while another adult and several children stood around her, muttering incomprehensible words. The woman on the floor had a towel stuffed in her mouth, and her entire body was covered in horrific bruises. The pastor immediately tried to call for an ambulance, but they desperately stopped him, insisting, "She'll be fine if we just pray." When the police finally arrived, the woman on the floor, Park Mira, an alias, had been dead for over 2 hours. The cause of death was asphyxiation and multiple blunt force trauma. There were signs she had been beaten on her chest and stomach for at least 2 hours straight. 5 people were arrested at the scene. The apparent leader of the group, a 44-year-old woman named Madam Kim, an alias, her son, and the deceased Park Mira's own 19-year-old son and 21-year-old daughter, along with another 15-year-old boy. But the pastor realized one person was missing. When he had met them weeks earlier, there was another woman in her 40s. His ominous feeling was right. Based on his tip, the police found Choi Ji-young in the garage of another house they were renting, near death from dehydration and suffering from horrific injuries. Who were these people, and why were they committing such a horrifying act so far from home? It all started with a hope for a better future. Madam Kim, Park Mira, and Choi Ji-young were very close. Madam Kim often claimed to have a divine connection, and the other 2 women trusted her like a spiritual guru. In the summer of 2015, Madam Kim suggested, "Let's all move to Germany for our children's future." The other 2 families, trusting her completely, liquidated all their assets and moved to Germany with her, a large group of 10 people in total.
But their German dream started to crack from the very beginning. They lost a large sum of money to a scam and got into a fight with their landlord over a housing contract. As these real-world problems piled up, Madam Kim's madness began. She declared that all their problems were because one of us is possessed by a demon. And for the first scapegoat, she pointed to Park Mira's youngest son. She locked the boy in a room and ordered all the other family members to beat the demon out of him. This horrific exorcism, where they would shout, "Be gone," while hitting the child, continued for days, until the boy was eventually forced onto a plane and sent back to Korea. Once the boy was gone, Madam Kim announced that the demon has now moved to someone else. The people she pointed to this time were the children's own mothers, Choi Ji-yeon and Park Mira. That's when the real hell began. The children, completely brainwashed by Madam Kim's gaslighting, started to see their own mothers not as mom, but as demons. They were led to believe that when their mothers cried out in pain, it wasn't really their mothers, but the demons inside them screaming. So with their own hands, they beat their mothers' chests and stomachs and stuffed towels in their mouths, shouting, "Get out, demon, get out." In the end, Park Mira couldn't withstand the horrific assault and died. The next target, Choi Ji-young, was abandoned in the garage and was lucky to be found alive. Chloe, the greatest tragedy in this story is the reality the survivor, Choi Ji-young, had to face. The mastermind who pushed her to the brink of death was her most trusted friend, and the accomplices were her own children, whom she loved more than life itself. How could one person's madness, in the name of faith, completely swallow up entire families. It's a truly, unimaginably horrific and sad story.